So again, welcome to everybody for the fifth webinar, where we're going to discuss strategies to face coronavirus. And so here at Virtuagym, we wanted to put these together to bring together some of the internal resources that we have, but also external resources so that we can try and provide as much information and guidance as possible during these times. And so we hope that you find the information that you guys see here today valuable and that it helps you guys in your business and some of the decisions that you have to make during this time. Also, another thing is that we actually host these in a couple different languages. So if you know anybody who would like to participate, we do have these in Spanish, German, Dutch, and French. And so those can also be found on our Eventbrite page as well. So if you know anybody, feel free and share that information along with them. So as far as today's speakers, let's go ahead and give everyone a chance in order to introduce themselves. So we have a bigger group than last time. So maybe if we go left to right, top to bottom, we can go ahead and give a quick introduction. So Junior, that is you first, my friend.
Hey, good day, guys. Good morning here from San Diego, California. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this. It's always very helpful to share some information with some like-minded and like business people. So thanks again for having me.
Great. I'm Mark Gorter. I'm Chief Operating Officer of Workout Anytime. We're a HVLP club with 180 locations across the country, franchisor of the business. And again, really pleased to be able to share our thoughts with you. There's really no playbook for this thing, so we're trying to figure it out just like everybody else. But hopefully we've got some insights that can be of value to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cruz, Director of Customer Success at Perkville, working from my home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. For those of you who don't know, Perkville is a leading loyalty and referral platform that is based off of point-based rewards, and we work with fitness businesses, and we also have an integration with Virtuagym. And I'm really happy to be here virtually with all of you talking about strategies for engaging with members during this time.
All right. Hello, my name is Sheldon McBee, and I am the Personal Training Director for Universal Athletic Club. We are a pretty large club for where I live. I'm in the middle of beautiful Amish country, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. A very rural area, but we're a beautiful 110,000 square foot facility with 12,000 members. And I'm kind of coming at you from a perspective of that single site, privately owned big box that's trying to maneuver through this new normal that we're trying to get through here. And so I appreciate sharing, your time and any insights that I have today.
Great. And then from my end, my name's Kalen Pino. I'm the head of the US market here at Virtuagym. And I just want to say thank you guys for joining us today and sharing what you guys have. And I hope that it's going to help other people as well.
Yes, and then finally, Hugo, co-founder and co-CEO of Virtuagym. So happy to be on the call, and thanks everybody for joining. I think based on the feedback we've been getting, this is meaning a lot for people to get like insights and inspiration on how to deal in the current times. So let's get started.
Awesome. All right, guys. So a little bit of housekeeping before we jump into it. So there's going to be a couple areas that you guys are able to go ahead and post questions. We ask that everybody uses the chat within the section here. So there's a spot where you can go into chat itself. There's a little area where there's 3 dots, and you can go ahead and enable chat. And within there's a little drop down. So if you go in there, you have the opportunity in order to either message the panelists or message all of the panelists and attendees. So just to keep the discussion kind of flowing and having everybody participate it so that this way you can be here in the discussion with us, go ahead and just mark that off as all panelists and attendees. I already see here that some of you guys have jumped in and said hello to people as well. So thanks for that. But yeah, go ahead and post those questions and those discussions there. Additionally, this recording is going to be sent out to all of the participants afterwards, so no need to take notes on that. We're going to put that up on the YouTube page and share it with everybody. So that handles a little bit of the housekeeping side of stuff. Let's go ahead and jump into the agenda for today. So today, what we really wanted to focus on is build off of the presentations that we had in the last ones, and really take the opportunity in order to dive deep into the topic of how are we keeping our members engaged and how are we keeping our staff and members connected. And so that's really going to be the central theme of today's conversation. And so for us, you know, one of the things that we've always talked about with our customers is the importance of touch points. And so as you guys know, you probably have seen the stats, you know, URSA reports that for every 2 touch points that we're able to deliver to a client, that's going to reduce the churn of this person the next month by 32%. And so we all know the importance of these touch points, and we use them in order to create our member journeys. So we have our 30, 60, 90-day member journeys. So this is what you can see here is kind of a generic version of what this looks like. And so during normal times, we're able to rely on the welcome journey that includes a welcome email, a facility walkthrough, maybe a consultation session before we try and sell personal training. And what we've always advised our clients on is that touch points are able to be delivered outside of the 4 walls of the facility, so that this way your brand is able to have a connection with your members 24/7. And one of the ways that you're able to use that is through technology itself. So the reason why I wanted to use this particular slide here is just to kind of have as a discussion piece, because obviously during these times, we're not able to have those in-person contacts in the same way that we used to. Some people have gone 100% to technologies. Others are taking different approaches. So yeah, let's go ahead and kick it off to a question and start first with you, Sheldon. Sheldon, you know, how has this been looking to your particular member touch points there at Universal?
Yeah, so our facility, it's quite big. We have 12,000 members, and our personal training department, the one I oversee, it's quite busy. We have over 700 accounts who were active at the time the pandemic really hit. And our main focus on this was actually retention and engagement first. Before we thought about monetizing, it was about making sure that our client base felt highly engaged, that we really care. There were a lot of folks we have a very senior population, a lot of silver sneakers who are part of our facility, who felt like they needed to be catered to and are truly connected. So the first thing that we did was go all out effort on engaging the silver sneakers as one step. So we created a unique Zoom workout using the silver sneakers classic yoga, the energy, and getting them engaged. And they do a lot of silver sneakers driven content to keep them engaged. And they've been very appreciative of that. Our training clients, all of our small group training is our primary driver. It's not private one-on-one. Last year, you know, we did about $1.5 million in training services, and about 80% of that came from group training. So all of our trainers created exclusive, semi-private, small group training classes inside the Zoom that were not based on whether you train 1 or 2 or 3 times a week. They left it open to their current client base to train with them using private links to the workouts. And then for our generic membership, of course, like many facilities are doing, we opened up what's considered a free access to our live streaming workouts and all of our recordings. What we found during this process was that our members were very appreciative. We saw some drop off in revenue, obviously, and our doors had to completely close, and we were relying completely on a revenue stream from training. So we saw about a 50% drop off in training, but still high engagement, as we allowing anyone who froze or canceled their account to continue training with us during this period, with the hopes to retain them afterward. So even though we're seeing very high engagement, revenue did drop off. The members have been very appreciative of this. So we have a sort of a three-tier thing. We've got our silver sneakers, we've got our semi-private, private Zoom schedule, and we have our open, free live streaming schedules and recording access. The biggest thing that we had to deal with in terms of safely keeping people engaged is making sure it was secure. As some of you guys probably know on this call now, we're using Zoom today. Zoom, if you guys have been watching the news, there have been a lot of people who are coming in and hijacking the sessions and creating less of a secure experience. So we chose to just add a few more gates that make it easy for someone to just have Zoom, use an ID, use a password, and get into our workouts without any issues. And it's been quite successful for us. And our next step is just doing more things to engage people beyond just the workout, because the workout isn't what makes Universal unique. It's engaging people on a very personal level. So we are now planning things like coffee hours and doing challenges and engagement groups for donations on Fridays using yoga and things like that to engage people beyond the workout. So there's quite a few things we're doing primarily through Zoom and of course through Virtuagym as well to engage our members and clients.
Wow, yeah, and also I really like the piece where you were mentioning that it's going beyond fitness as well. Also doing the coffee sessions and with people and other things like that. And then
So,
go ahead, Hugo.
Yes, sure. Thanks, Sheldon. Very, very insightful. So I was wondering, so often, and it's also a poll question coming up, I see, regarding stop charging your customers. So we're seeing kind of a division across our customer groups, where some type of customers, they keep billing their customers during these online only services, whilst others, they completely stopped charging or have like some sort of blended model. I wouldn't say it's like a fixed rule, but typically see the bigger the facility, the larger the chance that the owners decide to stop invoicing, because they tend to have less personal connection with their members. What's your view on this for your facility? And you mentioned like this partial billing. Have you been successful in monetizing also on the digital side?
Yeah, we have. So for our primary membership, we stopped our billing completely. Because our membership, we don't charge a lot of training by packages and pay in fulls and POS. Ours is 90% EFT. We bill people bi-weekly. Every 2 weeks, they get a charge and they have a 17-day expiration to use sessions. And so for our membership, we stopped charging on that. But for our PT, it was essentially an opt-in. So when they opted in, they would opt in to just maintain charging me so I can continue supporting my trainer on this bi-weekly EFT and cancel the membership that sits underneath their primary EFT. The tier above it, some people opted in, and if they did not opt in, we automatically stopped their charge if we did not hear from them or we did not get a response. So most of the people who are being charged right now, we're doing a blended model, and the only people being billed right now are those who are doing their small group training with their coach. And we are still compensating that coach a percentage off of that EFT every 2 weeks, so they have income.
Great. Junior, maybe checking in with you, because we've been hearing basically these great inspiring success stories for you as a studio owner in being highly successful in keeping your customers engaged and also willing to pay a significant fee. I think you're charging $120 per month. Where are you now today? Are you still a happy business owner, or did things change?
Yeah, hey, thank you. Definitely a happy business owner. We're in a very unique position here in San Diego, where I believe the health and fitness minded clientele around here, combined with a pretty lovable staff that we've got in our gym, has kept us pretty successful. As you said, we haven't had as much of a downturn as some other people in the country or in the world have experienced, and I'm very thankful for that. We have leaned on the system hard since the very beginning. and in looking for other ways to stay on top of engagement and touch points, I ran out and signed up for Perkville. So I'm getting my onboarding session rolling today. So I'm super pumped about that. So yeah, like you said, we've been very successful, and I'm super thankful for that.
Great to hear. Great to hear. So maybe that's a good switch to Ria from Perkville. Maybe you could tell a bit about your experiences with your customers. What do you see? What they are doing is successful? How are they using your loyalty engagement platform to keep engaging members? Could you tell a bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, our fitness businesses have been hit so hard, and I've been so happy to see so many of you figure out creative and effective ways of engaging with your members during this time. Offering free and paid virtual classes, both recorded and live through tools like Zoom, private Facebook groups, Instagram Live. That's what we've seen the most. Another great idea that I've seen to keep members active and engaged, which Sheldon touched on this a second ago, was creating challenges for your members. Studio South in Williamsburg, Virginia, I just had a conversation with them this morning, and they just launched a 30-day challenge to encourage their members to exercise safely through their live workouts that they're hosting through Zoom, as well as meditate and stay hydrated daily. So they have a 3-goal challenge, and they're using our new Stay Safe page feature that we just released to reward their members a point reward for participating in the challenge daily. So we did develop a new feature for this time to help out our businesses that we're calling Stay Safe. And it basically allows them to create a page that has whatever content they want, such as encouraging their customers to exercise in ways that respect social distancing recommendations, such as, you know, links to their live classes. And then the business shares that page with their customers who can visit it to check in to get a point reward up to once per day. So many of them are using it, you know, to host their content and award their customers a point reward for engaging with that content on the Stay Safe page. Other, like Studio South, is using it for their challenge feature, where they have the criteria for their challenge, and then they can get a point reward for that. And it's really based off of the honor system in this case. So, I mean, in general, like I said, we're just really happy to see so many businesses figure out creative and effective ways of engaging with your members during this time, and are happy that the Stay Safe page feature can help with those efforts.
Great, thanks so much.
Yeah.
So we've got a question coming in from Drun. It is probably Drun Meth. It says in the Q&A. I think it's for Junior. Question regarding your membership fees. He or she asked, do you lower your rates for online remote training program memberships? An example from 125 to 98. Junior, there was a question for you. Are you still there? There was a question if you lowered your memberships. I think you kept the same rates, right?
Yeah, we did. And you know, that kind of reverts back to your style and your technique. But I have historically not been a fan of reducing rates. There's always ways to work around that, and it's harder to recover from a rate decrease than it is from an incentive increase. So it's always been the way that I've been taught since the beginning. And it's the theory that I carry through. So what we did is we kept our rates the same, and we sent out an incentive package pretty early on, and then a follow-up incentive package at the end of the month, so April 1st. These included things like added services that people could view as a way that they are saving money or decreasing their payments. And that seems to work the best, because when all this blows over, you did do what you could to make sure that the clients were happy and that you were doing things that were beneficial for them without reducing your bottom line long term. So if you're running a small boutique spot, it's my personal opinion, and it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's up to you and your business. but it's my personal opinion to try to keep your rates the same and find ways to improve the incentives, whether that's free services or enhanced products or ongoing memberships, et cetera, et cetera.
Great, thanks for that. Mark, obviously, as a large franchise company, I guess the rules work a bit differently, and it's in a way perhaps also extra challenging dealing with franchisees. What's been your approach since Corona hit the US?
Yeah, we you know, the good thing about our network is we're predominantly located in small markets, and they're locally owned, and the relationships our owners have with the members is usually pretty strong because they're on the gym floor every day, like Junior, working their membership base. So we left it up to them to determine if they wanted to freeze their memberships or continue billing. And in most cases, and as of today, everybody's going to have their memberships frozen because we didn't want to get through a couple of different billing cycles and not be able to provide at least the gym experience. What we did really quickly was we moved from a dues-based relationship to purely focusing on engagement. Like many of the ideas done here, we had really three methods. We had our Virtuagym app, and I'll in a moment get to how that's working for us. We did a workout of the day, like many, that was streamed through a variety of different channels, whether it be Zoom or Facebook Live. And we introduced a platform that would provide a video on demand set of exercises. Our feeling was that you know, we were really pushing for engagement to stem cancellations. Our philosophy is that freezes will be temporary, but cancellations can be permanent. So we didn't focus as much on a revenue generating environment as we did staying in touch with our members and communicating with them. And it's interesting, we were actually, as the folks from Virtuagym know, we're in the process of rolling out an app that we'd work with them. And we're really in the very early stages of moving from a controlled beta test to a full rollout. And when coronavirus hit, we sat down with the team at Virtuagym and we really accelerated. We went from, you know, a controlled rollout to a full-scale national rollout in a matter of days. And the team there was excellent in helping us get prepared and manage that rollout. And it's been really an important tool for us in a couple of ways. Certainly the at-home workouts that we had programmed provide an opportunity for people to work out with, you know, little or no accessories, body weight type workouts and the like. But we've also used the news feature to communicate with them every day. And that's what we're doing. We're communicating with them with nutrition tips, motivational tips, along with fitness tips. So we've seen the Virtuagym app work for us on a variety of different levels to help stay engaged. We've also done challenges. We're introducing a challenge now with members to get them to stay engaged over periods of time. So these short 1 week tweak challenges can keep people moving. And we're introducing something this week, which we're actually challenging our members to come up with their own workouts. It's kind of wrapped around the theory of the ice bucket challenge that many of you saw a couple of years ago. And we're kicking off a challenge with a workout, and then they're nominating others to do their own workouts. We want to see if we can really make that go viral with our members, because we believe we can get our members involved and get them going and demonstrate what they're doing in serious or fun ways. We can continue to stimulate that work at anytime community and keep people plugged in so that they'll still be there when this whole thing comes out the other end.
Yeah, thanks so much. And yeah, let's see when that is, of course. I think that's still the big question for everybody. I think in terms of some update on what's going on in Europe, but maybe Kalen, that's also then a good call to continue the presentation. But now in Europe, the first countries are starting to loosen the measures again. So in Austria, they opened up the first small shops, and the bigger shops will open end of April. Not sure what that means for sports facilities, but across multiple European countries now, even in Spain, which was hit very hard, they're now looking at releasing the full lockdown that they had. So that's well, it's I think a bit too early to cheer, because we don't know what will happen then. And our government in the Netherlands has actually warned that they could loosen the measures, but then tighten them again if needed. But yeah, I think overall those are positive developments, and hope that we can soon speak about that time when Corona hit us, and perhaps at some point laugh about it. Yeah.
You know, I think that at least the way we're looking at it, and we've got actually kind of staggered here in the States, different types of dates with which the local governors are going to be evaluating and either extending the lockdown period or releasing it. We feel pretty strongly that we're going to probably come out of this thing the same way we went into it. What I mean by that is start with some level of management with, you know, groups not to exceed certain levels. The clubs will begin kind of with that aspect, and then we'll roll from there into still the social and physical distancing relative to equipment, spreading that out, and probably really never get out of the notion of making sanitation a primary marketing focus and operational focus in the clubs. I mean, we've taken for granted that all clubs need to be clean, and certainly manage ourselves around that, and it becomes, you know, a little farther down on the marketing feature set. But we believe that it's going to be something that our members are going to be, you know, vitally interested in. They're going to want to see what we call conspicuous cleaning going on. A lot of reminders in the gym with how we're doing it and what our standards are, and even to the point where we're assigning staff members to walk the floor and literally wipe down equipment after the members have wiped them down themselves. So, you know, personal space, we believe, is going to be a much more important part of the business. And we think we'll see the members come back really in three buckets. There'll be those members that are, you know, lining outside the door for the day that they open because they're just going stir crazy and need a place to work out. And we'll certainly welcome them back with open arms. We believe there'll be members that simply can't afford to rejoin because they've had relatively impactful things take place through unemployment or losing their jobs or having their salaries reduced. And the third group will be a little reluctant. And until we get to a point where we have broad scale testing and some type of treatment programs to validate the physical condition of individuals, we think that they'll maybe be a little slower to come back. So we're kind of treating our return to normalcy in those three levels and really extending our financial projections out a little farther than we would be. I heard a very good friend of mine, Blair McCaney, say that you want to be pessimistic financially and optimistic operationally, meaning assume that you're going to be back on tomorrow and do all the things you need to do with respect to cleaning and maintenance and upgrades and even repainting your gym, but be very conservative and pessimistic financially to the extent that, you know, you're looking at that Spotify subscription. Do you really need that? And do you need some of the expenses that were even micro costs before as you work to consume every single dollar you can? Because as Hugo said, we don't know how long this is going to be. We want to make sure that we're preserving our capital so that we can have a gym for people to come back to when in fact the storm does go by.
Yeah, definitely a good point. Yeah, so that's you mentioned those three types of members. I think I totally agree with that. I think the big question is like, how big is that percentage going to be that's going to say, hey, I can't afford this any longer? We've seen the recent news about unemployment in the US skyrocketing. I think it went up 6% or so in the recent weeks. Is that correct?
It's
Yeah,
almost 10%.
Yeah.
So now it's at 10%, which I think was around the peak of the 2008 crisis. Well, in a way, of course, that is now expected because if you look at that peak, obviously now since all the businesses have forced closed, they're pushing everybody out. I think it's safe to assume that when they open up shop again, a lot of those people will be able to get back in. But yeah, it's definitely without question that a big amount of people is impacted heavily financially, and that's gonna be a domino effect. So that's let's see how that will affect the spend in the fitness industry. Sheldon, perhaps before we continue, a quick question from somebody in the audience asking about the technology. Yeah, the question is, are your trainers hosting live Zoom workouts in their home or at your facility? And then the second question is, how do you deal with less tech-savvy trainers? Is that going okay through Zoom or whatever you're using?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So as this entire thing was happening, we came together as a management team and really laid down the framework of exactly how do you do this, step by step. How do you execute a workout online, live streaming? What's it supposed to look like? How do you cue it? How do you coach it? What kind of space do you need? What are the things you say? How often are you moving and how often are you in front of the camera facilitating? We just went through a very detailed, practical session of how this is supposed to look. We were quite sure that some of our trainers were not going to embrace this kind of technology. It's kind of like, reading the book Good to Great, where they kind of say when you have to pivot your business, that some will be prepared for the change and some just won't. So we probably had about 70% of our trainer team who, once we went through this level of facilitation, they were prepared to, yes, train them at home. We just needed to make sure they had an environment that was considered, on brand with Universal. So we expected a completely empty space, not a lot of clutter at home. Didn't want to see the cat, running in between the workout sessions and all that stuff. Keep the children out. Yet we actually did want them to look like it was still at home. We actually wanted that. We wanted that because we wanted it to be natural still, and to feel real and to feel authentic. And for those trainers who did not really jump into this, we understood, we were supportive of them, but we invited their clients to join the other trainers who were taking on this technology, with the understanding that it was just a risk they took to maybe not have that client continue with them once we open our doors. And everybody was fine with this approach and fine with the way we did it. And that's how it worked for us. So it was a matter of just teaching them the steps to do it based on a small team of us who were quite good with technology is the way we did it. And it worked out really well. Our trainers understand. Of course, this is new for everybody. But from personal experience, I had to spend a lot of my time in my fitness career doing things on camera, doing things through recording and video. So I came in with some knowledge on how you do it and was able to upskill our team.
Cool.
I have
Thanks
a question
so much for that insight.
for you, Sheldon. A lot of our fitness studios I've been hearing that having a mic is really important. And that's like been the biggest thing for them in struggling with the Zoom classes, is making sure that their instructors can be heard, and also the movement, making sure that they're not moving too much, that it's distracting from, the class. What are your tips on that?
Yeah, really good question. So right now, most of what we're doing is on Zoom. We do find that Facebook Live does have a better quality of sound than Zoom does. However, you have to be mindful of, like, if you're someone who's using music to drive your workout, to have the absolute best experience, you would need to purchase a mixer. It's primarily done on your computer, and you're able to mix what's happening through a microphone and then in your music and mix the content together to have the most powerful audible sound. And just not everybody has that kind of technology. So to be quite honest, we just took an approach where not every trainer is going to have this kind of technology. So when you are doing your workout, it has to be done in a certain way where if music is involved, you have to make the music not as an impactful part of the experience. And when your cueing is involved and your movement is involved, there's a sweet spot of cueing, what you say, and how often you're doing versus not doing, to find a balance. So the balance that we found was this. Anytime that you are actually cueing a workout live, you always move with the people who are viewing it yourself. You cue out loud and you move simultaneously during any transition from move A to move B. Doesn't matter if it's a circuit, doesn't matter if it's a superset. You have to physically execute and do. Once you've done that for at least 1 or 2 revolutions, then you can pause, go to camera, and cue live. I could kind of go on for a while on the formula, but essentially that is the gist of the approach we took to make sure that everyone was cueing and coaching consistently on these Zoom workouts. and another example, we had a yoga instructor who's a practitioner of Baptiste yoga. She's quite good. And, you know, we had a big debate back and forth because she's like, look, I really just cue. I cue body part direction and do it well. And if someone is blind, they can still follow me clearly. And then I said, well, you know what, I get it, but you got some people who are quite visual and need to see and then act. So what she ended up doing was putting a model who was actually in their home doing the actual workout themselves that she cued verbally. So the end user could hear her voice, but only see the model doing. And that enhanced the experience double fold. So you actually have an opportunity to team up as trainers to even create a more powerful experience if you can coordinate one person doing and one person cueing. So that worked out really well, but that's essentially the basic model, which, to be honest, I can go on and on about how to maximize it, but that's what we're doing to enhance it. Musically, one more thing to say, musically, that's a tough one. Unless you have a mixer, it's going to be challenging to get the feed of audio and music together. Some of you might have that, and that's great, but if you don't, what you have to do is look to do some workouts that are not based on timing and rhythm if you can. For example, if you do high intensity interval stuff, you just need timers that can be heard clearly throughout the workout, and then you just have people go on their own pace and intensity. And that's one of the things that we're doing right now.
Right, yeah, that's a good point also regarding, and that's kind of in line with the question before, like how easy is it to use? But I think you bring up an important point, Sheldon, also what is the experience for the member going to be? And I think maybe at this moment, members are still kind of, everybody's kind of surprised by what's happened, but at the same time means that they're willing to accept a lot also in terms of maybe mediocre quality of sound, etc. But if that's taking too long, I think moving forward, it is important that you keep improving and investing in that experience, and maybe buy that mixer or like a mic or etc. to make that audio and music and sound come together. And that's maybe in line with that, moving towards the future. That's a question from Julie, who asked it to all panelists. So guys, again, please post your chat to all panelists and attendees, and everybody can see it. Julie is asking, will any of the panelists offer services both virtually and in person when reopening? And then perhaps have a different price schedule for each. Mark, maybe the question for you: do you think that the current trend to virtual will continue to stay? And do you envision you with Workout Anytime to also move in that direction to keep offering these types of services to your members?
Yeah, actually we do. You know, the virtual workout concept has been tried for some time now, and really it wasn't until Peloton figured out how to do it that it caught on, and you had Mirror and Tonal and these others. And of course, with this crisis now, it's just been ignited. And we believe, for a variety of reasons, you know, we'll get better at it. All of us will get better at it. There'll also be a group of consumers that are quite comfortable working out at home, as opposed to going to gyms because of the social and physical distancing issues. So we do believe that there's going to be some legs to this, and we're actually in the process of thinking through a concept called Workout Anywhere by Workout Anytime, where we would allow these types of broader virtual workouts to take place. We're thinking about it as not only a standalone membership at a low end, but also bundling it with some of our premium memberships. We think it represents a pretty interesting opportunity, because now what we're doing is we're moving the barriers of proximity to a health club. Typically, we trade in about a 10 to 15 mile radius, drive time radius, excuse me. And we believe if we can get this right, we can really expand the boundaries of our ability to train clients beyond the normal drive time radius that we typically compete in. So, you know, we haven't figured out exactly what that looks like yet, but we do feel that based on existing consumer behavior, that there's going to be a great opportunity moving down the line for some level of connected fitness and virtual training.
Yeah, I agree.
All righty. All right, guys. we're on the first slide and we're already 44 minutes in. So this was great discussion, though. I think that for us, it's really great to hear about all of the things that your brands are doing in order to make sure that your members are still having a great experience with your brands. I think the big thing that came away from this, which is perfect segue into the next slide, is that these touch points are all designed in order to keep giving the members a sense of community. And for me, one of the things that I stumbled on this weekend, which I thought was really powerful, was that many organizations are rightfully taking the time right now in order to think about what the new normal is going to look like. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't miss out on the opportunities right now that we have in order to strengthen our community with our members. The quote that I saw within the video, which was super powerful, was that after this situation, when your kids are reflecting on this with you, they're not going to look at it as a bad thing. They're actually going to see this as a time where they got to hang out with you at home, build the forts, build the obstacle courses, and this is going to be a beautiful time for them. And the same is true with community. If you have a chance, in order to incorporate those things in workouts, I saw videos online of kids joining for these live Zoom workouts. Mix it up, have some fun, instruct people to put their kids on their shoulders and do those squats. And I think that that's going to really strengthen the bond that they're going to have with the facilities, and also drive that community feeling across the organization. So I'm going to skip a slide that we had here, just for purposes of jumping into another discussion within here, which is along the lines of some of the chats that we've already been having, but a little bit different. This one here is kind of our interpretation of a conversation with a gym chain out of China called Ronnie Wills. And so I think that the interesting thing within this piece here was that it gives us an opportunity to look ahead in terms of where this is going to go for the United States. So a little bit of background on Ronnie Wills. They are a 170 location gym chain with medium and high-end clubs in China, 600,000 members, 7,000 employees. And so a little bit of background for everybody. When the pandemic hit China, this actually, the outbreak happened during a very tough timing. It was the Chinese New Year. So that's essentially the same thing as in the States. It's a period where everyone is making their New Year's resolutions and jumping into making fitness commitments for themselves. And so what came out of the conversation is that they broke down the phases of this entire pandemic into 3 phases for themselves. So it was phase 1, which was a closing phase, phase 2, which was when they started pre-opening, and then the last phase, which was phase 3, when they started opening their facilities. So in phase 1, as you can see here, some of the things that we've talked about already, they focused on cost reduction. So if you haven't done so already, look into lowering your operating costs as close to zero as possible. And so negotiate with your property manager, negotiate your equipment leases, and make sure that you're doing everything that you can in order to minimize that monthly expenditure that you're having. The other thing that they did during this time is they reviewed their pricing and offerings. So making sure that they're still able to offer a value add during this time when the facilities were going to be closed down. The next focus for them was about their staff and salaries. So the recommendation in there was make sure that you're using all of the government supports during these times, if possible. If you have freelancers and contracts, if needed, look at potentially pausing those contracts with those freelancers as well. And then the other thing on the employees is that they need to feel safe during this time, that management has control over every part of the situation. And then, of course, we touched on this as well, member engagement, and this was, of course, is a big piece. So, for me, the most interesting thing of the conversation overview was what opening and pre-opening look like. for them. So within here, I found this piece super interesting, where they were discussing what is the best way now in order to start opening up the facility. So they opened their first gym March 16th, so a month ago, and they decided to open it very carefully. So for them, these 2 points were the focus within their pre-opening: communicating safety and hygiene. So within that piece, one of the things that they actually did within this is when people came in for workouts, they had to use face masks. They also looked at the air quality. So circulation was switched off in some of the facilities that they operate. So I thought that piece was really interesting. They had staff protocols as well, where their staff needed to wear masks, gloves, and would go around with sanitizer that they were able to share with the members during this time. So these were some of the pieces that ended up within their processes. Additionally, different cleaning standards for the staff came in as well. So they put in protocols where every single 2 hours somebody would have to go through from the staff and do a deep cleaning. Additionally, cardio equipment wasn't able to be used machine by machine. So they enforced a rule where it was every other piece of cardio equipment that was being used during this time. So I found those pieces to be super interesting. And I'm also really curious to learn a little bit about how some of our panelists are thinking about reopening. Will we be looking at some measures like this or similar to this? Mark, maybe you can kick this one off. Have you guys started planning what opening and pre-opening is potentially going to be looking like, and some factors that have been taken into consideration?
We began planning on that about 2 weeks ago. We actually evolved, like many, through a series of gates when this whole thing started. We of course were business as usual, and then we evolved from that to what we called conspicuous cleaning, where we made sure that we were demonstrating how we were cleaning and disinfecting our equipment, which by the way are two different things. So we were covering both of those. Then we evolved social distancing, where we had every other treadmill and signs on them saying, "Skip me," and started to provide distancing between our equipment. Then we evolved to being open only during staffed hours. We're a 24-hour gym, but our clubs are only staffed from really 9 morning to 8 at night. So then the next phase was to compress the hours to just staff only hours. And then we went into limited gathering counts, right? We could have no more than 10 people gathering. So we then had to introduce a appointment scheduling software, so we could literally book appointments on the hour to make sure that we were never exceeding those counts. And then of course we went to full closure. We see us coming out of it in much the same way we went into it, which means all of those things I mentioned will be stacked together, and over time they'll be relaxed. For example, we'll relax the limited gathering counts after some period of time. We believe once, as I mentioned, that broad scale testing and some treatment plans are available and people are comfortable, we'll eliminate that. Then we'll eliminate the amount of time in which we open. We'll extend that. Then we think at some point we can relax maybe even the social distancing amongst our equipment. But we think that the conspicuous cleaning piece is really here to stay. And we think that's going to become a primary element of us both demonstrating it operationally and demonstrating it through our marketing. We really believe that sensitivity is going to be really important to welcoming members back. So primarily they're going to be focused on that. It's interesting, we never thought of taking our shoes off here in the States before 9/11, but now it's a pretty standard thing that you're used to. We think there's going to be a lot of that same type of behavior people are going to embrace and they're going to get used to, and it's going to really affect it. I mean, do we think people are going to be wearing masks when they work out? Probably not. It's too difficult to take part in a high intensity exercise program with something over your mouth. Mm-hmm. But temporal thermometers may be here to stay. And we may be going through a period where that just becomes the standard, like taking your shoes off before you go through the airport scanner. So we think it's going to be a slow kind of evolution back down from the way that we went into it. And we've actually looked at it from a marketing and operations, a training, and a financial standpoint in each of those phases, and are preparing action plans in each of those for all of those criteria to make sure that we've thought it through. You know, we're a franchisor, so we're going to develop a game plan that we can then extend out as a recipe book to our franchisees so that they can begin to execute that whenever that day comes. And it's going to be different, you know, based on states and local markets.
Yeah, thanks.
One more point, if I can, Kalen, that is, a while ago, we actually installed a product in our clubs called AirFix, capital AIR, small PHX. And it's a device that literally cleans the air and eliminates bacteria and viruses. It literally will blow staph infection and other types of viruses off the equipment. And we've been using that as a big, or certainly early on, as a big value add to the equipment that we've got in the gym. And we'll continue to use that as one of our core products going forward because of its ability to provide, you know, a much higher level of cleanliness and disinfection throughout our locations. It's a great product.
What was that called again?
They're sold out now. It's called AirFix, AIR-PHX. They're sold out now in back orders, as you might expect. But at some point, I would recommend highly to anybody on this webinar to look into it, because you literally can sense the difference, smell the difference since we put it in. And we think those are the kind of things that members are going to be really looking at for us as an industry to provide to take care of their safety and their sensitivity.
Yeah, that seems like a good investment anyway for the upcoming months, if not years. Yeah, great. So Ria, maybe have you been in contact with your customers a lot about already what to do when opening? What's your take on this?
Honestly, we haven't talked a lot about opening. Right now, I think they're still working through the period of them being closed and learning from webinars like this on best practices. But I do agree that, you know, the atmosphere is going to look differently. And likely gym members and studio members are going to expect a higher level of hygiene safety, like we were discussing. So,
yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and a question here that came through from George. So the question here is, when are we planning for reopen? So obviously it's difficult in order to know, but I'm curious to hear, you know, what organizations are planning for on this one. Sheldon, what are you guys kind of looking at as the amount of time that you guys are going to have to be in this style of engaging with your members and personal training clients?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have an actual date. I'm not sure anyone really knows for sure exactly when these doors are going to open again. That's going to come with, you know, those who are looking after this pandemic to give us news that it's safe to do it. It'll pass through the government, and it'll go through us. And similar to as Mark was saying, as you were mentioning too, Kalen, then once we know some kind of a date, then we're going to know how to execute. A week ago, we did the same. We just strategized on a couple scenarios: worst case scenario and best case scenario. Mm-hmm. And of course, the best case scenario, you know, we were crossing fingers thinking, okay, is it going to be May? Is it going to be end of May? Will it be June? And we don't know. But if it does happen, and when it does, you know, our approach is being echoed already. And that is about first and foremost, a facility looking, you know, surgically clean. And it is, you know, an excessive uplift of cleaning and disinfecting and practicing whatever the government passes down to us as the standards for practicing social distancing. Not only will we do it, but it's going to be pushed into our marketing heavily in our grand, you know, reopening. So for now, what we're doing is we are assuming that we are going to be in this for a semi-long haul, but planning for that reopening once we get some word from the government. But right now, we're just trying to maximize what we're doing today, day by day by day, because we really don't know. And that's what I would recommend for anybody, because we really haven't heard anything here about the actual date. It's kind of speculation right now.
Yeah, same here.
Junior, maybe obviously Sheldon just told us you operate in a very large facility. Was it 100,000 square feet?
Yeah, it's just over 100,000 square feet, 12,000 members, and it's quite big. And so for us to reopen, it's very strategic. We have a lot of different rooms. So depending on the mandate that comes down from us from the government, we do have a social distancing plan that does include separating out which cardio equipment to use, reserving actual rooms, putting a cap on it through our reservation systems, having actual markers on the floor in some of our training areas where you have to train a certain pod that you don't move out of, and then increasing our sanitation practices. We're lucky to have the space to do that, but it's what we have to do to make sure that our members are coming back to a safe environment. And we are going to continue practicing our online and virtual programming for those who are just not ready to come back. As I mentioned before, we have a very large senior population in our facility who may not feel comfortable going back to a space where there's gathering for quite some time. So we plan to continue that service for them and for those who might not be ready yet.
Junior, do you see a bigger challenge for you having a studio operating on a smaller square feet?
Yeah, there's definitely going to present its own challenge, and we're trying to work through the sticky points of making sure the place looks clean without staffing a small center with too much cleaning stuff that it just reminds people all the time how dirty it could be. So there's definitely a fine balance there, because we can't get away from the fact that this is a very human interacting space. And what we're looking at now and asking through the polls in Virtuagym and talking with some people in the medical field is, what is the sweet spot? Are we going to limit group classes to 10 people, 8 people, 4 people? Does that mean we reduce our workout times from 60 minutes to 40 or 30 so that we can clean a little bit and turn a little bit? And how does that work down the road as far as the logistics of enhancing workout styles to reduce the workout time so we can increase the volume of classes throughout the day? So it does present its own roadmap for solving, but we're ready for it. And I think everybody's figuring this out slowly but surely, because if anybody out there thinks we're just going to open the doors up and they're going to start pouring back in like before, you're going to be sorely mistaken. And I hope that everybody has a plan in place. Minimizing group footage is going to be, or group traffic is going to be a must. Increasing the available cleaning supplies is going to be a must. And as some of the other gentlemen on the panel and ladies on the panel have said, just increasing the amount of sanitation that's happening on a daily basis is going to be a must, which I think is something that's going to stay forever nonetheless.
All righty, guys, we are 2 minutes over. So I want to say thank you guys so much, all the attendees, for joining us today. Really hope you guys had a couple ideas or two that came out of this that you're able to implement within your facilities and businesses. Also want to give another thank you to the panelists. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day in order to join us and share some of your insights and what you found within your businesses with the people who've joined us today. We're going to leave the webinar open for a bit, so that this way, if you guys want to ask some questions, we'll go through and go through those and make sure that we answer them. Also, we'll go through some of the questions that were asked that maybe we didn't bring up in the webinar and couldn't get to it. We'll try and get you guys an answer to those as well. But that's everything. And thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, all panelists also.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
All right. Also, be careful, guys, when you guys exit. So because you're a panelist, it might give you the ability to, when you exit out, to close the meeting down or just leave the session. So if you guys are gonna exit out, just make sure you just leave the session. Otherwise, it'll close down the meeting for everybody, and we'll miss the questions here.
Good.
Okay, guys, I'm going to check out, but if you have any questions or you need me, run something by me, just send me a quick email. Hugo certainly knows how to get a hold of me. I really appreciate having a chance to share some ideas and hearing some good ones from each of you that I took some good notes on and we'll share with our group.
Yes, thanks so much, Mark, for joining in. Really
All right.
appreciate your input.
Good luck, everybody. Stay safe.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Thank you. Has anybody here on the panel had any success with any of the federal or state funding loan programs?
Not currently.
No.
Our CEO is currently working on that for our company, but no success as of now. I know it's a very detailed process and it's taking a lot of his time.
That is the truth.
I saw a post get sent out from Ursa that showed that some businesses are actually not within that. I think it might be more athletic clubs. Are you guys struggling with that piece, Sheldon? Because I don't really know too much about why it's not fitting with some businesses and not with others.
Yeah, no, we've well, first we put in a petition, first of all, in Pennsylvania to maintain as an essential business, rejected. And we have not gone nowhere in terms of a support loan for Universal. So we're actually stuck with that at the moment. But the owner's still working on it. Don't know where it's at today, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I didn't understand I saw the petition go out, but I didn't understand why certain businesses were exempt from that or not. So yeah, it was a bit confusing.
Might be a good topic for next week's seminar.
Yeah. Liquor stores, though. Liquor stores are deemed essential. And you don't have to keep social distancing in there. You know, in my neighborhood, there's a Sprouts Farmers Market, and everybody's got the tape on the floor, and they've got the lines, and you got to stay like this far away. The masks are mandatory to get into the grocery stores, which is good. About 50 feet away, there's the local liquor store, and none of those rules apply. Out and I think to myself, how did we get to the point where somebody literally had to write into this proposal that went out to the state, hey, these are the essential businesses: doctors, grocery stores, liquor stores. That's kind of mind-boggling.
We're gonna have to start lobbying as well, guys.
I think so.
That's a good point. I mean, these obviously these big corporations, they have very strong lobbyists working on government level. Well, I think the fitness industry is very fragmented. And what are IRSA and ASF doing for the industry on this level? Does anybody know that?
No, but there's a gentleman, I can't think of his name at the moment, but he has been talking for years on random podcasts and through social media about having a federation of sorts for the fitness industry, to have a solitude singularity voice. And, in times like this, it kind of shows that maybe that's something we need. I think inherently the fitness industry is a, hey, look at me style of business where everybody's in competition in close proximity. And that's fortunate and unfortunate. But in times like this, it becomes very unfortunate because we don't really have a standing voice to speak with one level, and then they go to bat for us on a larger scale.
Yeah.
Ursa has done some to stand in front in DC to voice what the industry needs. It's just probably not enough. They're just not as impactful, as powerful. I know that our facility and many of our staff and even some of our members have signed off letters to senators in effort to lobby for health clubs and racket clubs and athletic clubs. It just has not gotten anywhere at this point, or at least not that I've heard of.
Yeah.
So I mean, I give Ursa some credit for that, but we haven't seen any movement in that space.
Yeah, and that's also why. And now I know in the Netherlands they are actively also underlining kind of the benefits of physical activity on the health of people and the resistance to corona because of the immune system. Sorry. So
Where's the stopper?
yeah, so I think there's, yeah, if liquor stores can prove that they're essential for people's lives, and we all know about the damage of alcohol to people, it's basically a hard drug, then something as healthy as fitness to the overall population's health should get a priority to open. I think still the challenging thing is when you have people exercising, heavy breathing. Yeah, it is a bit of a if somebody is sick, that of course can lead to infections. I mean, I'm not a virologist, but I can imagine that. I saw this simulation of from a Scandinavian university where they made a computer model of somebody sneezing in a store, and you could see kind of the particles go over to the other aisle, or how do you call it, like the other thing, and it would just kind of drift around for like a minute or so. So yeah, can you imagine if somebody in a group fitness space would sneeze?
It does clear that from now on, sneezes are not going to be allowed.
No sneezing zones.
Yeah.
Those are going to clear out a room faster than anything these days.
Yeah.
Hey, Junior, I'm wondering if you can jump on this question really quickly that just came through. So, Melina, are you still there? So I saw that I can see that you just put in the chat. So she had a question about, I'm just gonna go ahead and read it off, and maybe we can even give microphone access as well. Are we able to make it so that this way Melina can speak? Let me see.
I'm seeing here like some feedback from George's.
Yeah.
Who's talking about
there we go. We got her in.
if we considered installing plexus, these transparent plastic separation screens. We're seeing a lot in supermarkets, but that could actually be something to put in between treadmills or something like that as well. Yeah, it's kind of resemble how do you call this? These big farms where all the chicken and everything. But,
Hi, Melina. I think we just added you in as a panelist. So your mic is shared with everybody.
Great. Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah, I imagine that we'll probably want to ask a couple of questions so that this way we can understand what market you're in and that. But just kind of reading through the chat, it looks like you are trying to find a sweet spot for pricing right now on your online training.
Yes, we found that a lot of our members are struggling financially and have been laid off. They no longer have the income and they have families to support. And so we gave everyone a safe opt-out at the beginning of our business closure, saying, look, we understand if you can no longer support your payments. So we'll put your membership on hold and there's no penalty and whatever. We've lost a lot of members as a regard of that happening. And the ones that we're keeping, we want to just treat well and fairly so that they'll continue to support the business and not feel taken advantage of. That being said, we are very close to a lot of local martial arts business owners because we're a very tight-knit community. And so we're very transparent with each other about our pricing and our models going forward into online training. And we've all got a different approach. And granted, our gym is small compared to others. We were just open for 3 months before this happened. So we have a very small membership base of about just under 50 students. And so, you know, we're trying to mitigate our costs and lessen them as much as possible, but we are now down to 30 paying members a month. And so I guess my issue is, and I have two partners that we've been discussing this at length about, is what is the fair amount to charge? We can't justify to our clients. I think it's just from a moral standpoint, continuing to charge them full price, and they don't have the facility, they don't have their equipment, they don't have hands-on instruction. What we do is a combat sport, and they're used to having partners to train with. So now they're isolated at home. I feel like they're losing a lot of what they first opted in for.
Yeah, so Melina, pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. You too.
So one of the big facets of our gym is martial arts as well. So our small fitness center combines athletic conditioning with martial arts. And so that has been the biggest struggle when it comes to the training version.
Yes.
We made it very clear from the beginning that we would keep the tutorials going, and we transformed our Fight Fit program to the online version, doing just about all the high intense, shadow boxing, if you will, and striking drills and body weight workout drills, which there are endless amounts of for all of your fighters and fight competitors. So I would encourage you to upplay the conditioning version of what everybody needs to be doing anyway, and not focus so much on the partner drills.
Yes.
Although having said that, one of the jiu-jitsu schools that we belong to as well does a daily. So my son and I will suit up in a few hours here, and we'll get on that workout as well.
Yes.
But they've been doing a daily partner drill as part of the experience. If you have a partner,
Yeah.
they went as far as to build the pillow dummies. So they stuffed a couple of sweatshirts with the pillows, tied off the sleeves and tied off the belly, that you can practice your strikes and practice your holds. And it's been fun and interactive. It's obviously not going to replace your sparring partner, but it has made, my son and I have been rolling around doing grappling, and I've been his punching bag for the last 5 weeks. So that.
Yeah.
And I encourage you to do the same, because there's a lot of opportunity there. But there's no way of getting around the fact that if you're a solo person, you're quarantining your apartment by yourself, that it just is what it is for now. But we've been lucky enough that the coaches are putting together some really exciting stuff, and it's been working really well.
So creative. I love the creative solutions, and we're following all of the gyms that we're close to very closely to kind of piggyback off of their creative ideas as well. And of course, always probing our members for new ideas and what they feel is lacking from the online training. Yeah, everyone's super enthusiastic about it and wants to keep training. But right now we're just mainly focused on keeping them engaged, making sure we can meet their needs to mitigate drop-offs and cancellations. But yeah, it sounds like your stance is to not lower the rates. Is that correct?
That's correct. So if you offer any kind of like boxing gloves or hand wraps or gear like that,
Yes.
Another approach, what we did is, we still do right now is we've been having challenges throughout the week. Winners will get a free pair of boxing gloves and hand wraps. That's a low cost incentive for us. Our
Yes.
cost of the gear is under $30, and it retails for well over $60. So this is a way that we've been successful. We've got our wrestling mats here. My wife's not too happy that I've taken over her office, but we're doing the best we can. So we get the wrestling mats out, and we showcase the boxing gloves and the hand wraps. We do a challenge, and there really is no right or wrong. Our challenge has really just been like gifting people gloves who don't own some. So there wasn't like a weight loss or a participation. After the class was over, we said, hey, congratulations on Instagram. We're going to give John a pair of gloves and hand wraps, and it's been a really cool way to do it.
Nice.
Also, the people that are paying full rate are going to get the incentive once we opened up. So they're accumulating, every month a handful of lessons with the coach of theirs. And in our case, we have coaches in different genres of sports, so it's really cool for them. So, when this is all said and done, they might have 3, they might have 15. I really don't know. But that's a way to make sure that they're not doing it for naught. And as we've talked about in the previous webinars, what's become very apparent is the people are also supporting you as a coach. And it sounds like you guys got a really cool community.
Yeah.
So rather than them just paying out of pocket, a lot of these people are really looking out for you as well. And $100 to them might not break the bank, but $100 from all your members keeps this thing afloat until we can get over it. So
Yes.
Good job to you for having those people to keep following you.
Oh, thank you. No, I really value all of your advice. I've been taking notes through the whole call, and I'm really excited to share these ideas with my other partners. My husband is a crew in Muay Thai, and he runs our Muay Thai program, Swadika. And,
very cool.
We also have a personal trainer who's another business partner, and then I've been training for 7 years, but I do the marketing and the graphic design, and we all just bleed into this business on a daily basis, and we just love our people so much that I think you're right. I think that there is a sense of community, and it's very strong, and we may just be lucky to be in this town and with these people, but I think they want to support us, and we just don't want to feel like we're robbing them at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's fair. And that speaks a lot to your heart, and I think that your clients are going to feel that as well. We have a little bit of an edge in the small community gyms where we kind of know everybody. We know them and their families and their kids. So you know, as much as we're going to support them, for them financially, they're going to support the business. And, you know, you guys are going to do a good enough job to, when the doors open, they feel like, man, I helped keep the thing afloat, and I'm getting all this cool stuff, which is, you know, more private lessons with the crew or more private lessons with you, which would be pretty awesome for them.
Yes.
I think that was a great learning from also the previous session, Junior. Just you shouldn't, if you have those relationships with your members, don't be afraid to ask them to support you, because many people are generous and willing to support you in these times of need. So,
remember we said one of the secret weapons that we had that was given to us really was in the very beginning of this, we put out an option for people to do a prepaid membership for the remainder of the year at a discounted rate. And we had a handful of people just come up with the money, because a lot of people are not out of work, and they are getting a little bit of a cushion by missing a couple car payments or missing a mortgage payment. And, you know, my wife is one of the heads for Chanel apparel and handbags and all that fun stuff. And they are working like crazy. You know, online shopping and spending is through the roof. All the people that had the money before currently have an income and just don't have anywhere to go with it. So on that note, one of the things that the smaller communities, the smaller gyms could take advantage of in a good way is offering your members a discount that we're already going to stay with you no matter what. So if you're $100 a month, their membership is $1,200 a year. Give them a 20% discount if they prepay for the remainder. You'd be surprised how many people say, hey, I'll take that. And they'll pay that today. And it'll help your cash flow today. And it'll bridge the gap between now and when the gym's open. But there are a lot of people in your membership base who would probably do that. Maybe it's 25%. But it's better than nothing. It'll be helping them and helping you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. Thank you so much.
Guys, thanks so much. I want to wrap up here. So we have also something to talk about maybe next week. Just kidding. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day. It was really a good session again. You guys seem to, and then Junior, our returning star, I must say.
My goal is to have a full beard before this is all done.
Yeah, I'm also trying, but I'm just not.
Yeah. Look at Kalen. I see Kalen's got the connectors now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Junior, you're a big example, but it's not working. So. Hey, thanks again, and have a great day, and hopefully see everybody next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks again, everybody.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.